Tonight there is another measure of how powerful this earthquake was. Listen to this. It moved so much mass on the planet that government scientists estimate it moved the Earth off its axis by about 3 inches, and as a result shortened the day by a few millionths of a second. The quake raised the ground level of one island in Chile by 6 feet, and it most certainly turned the lives of millions, as we've seen, upside down.
Well, in the hit film 2012, the entire planet starts falling to pieces and actually shifts poles after the planet's core starts going south. So you can imagine it got our attention when NASA said the catastrophic earthquake in Chile was so powerful, it knocked the Earth off of its axis and shortened the length of the day. My guest is author of Physics of the Impossible. Michio Kaku is a professor of physics and host of the sci-fi science on the Science Channel, and graduated first in his physics class at Harvard. I mean, what more could you ask for? All right, Michio, I'm not that into science. I mean, honestly, I got to be honest with you. But it knocked the Earth off its axis. Even that got my attention.
Well, first of all, no one's going to fall off the Earth. You're not going to get a shorter work week. However, the Earth did shift 3 inches off its axis, and the day was actually shortened by 1.26 microseconds.
How?
So this was a colossal earthquake. Remember that the Earth shifted 6 feet over a distance of several hundred miles, 20 miles underneath the ground. It's like a skater bringing in her arms at the Olympics. You spin faster and faster. The Earth actually contracted.
Look what we have ready to go as you talk to us about skaters.
Right.
Nancy Kerrigan. She's doing the same thing the earthquake did. But how? Okay, how? Explain to me how that move right there is like the earthquake.
Okay, as she brings in her arms, it's like the crust of the Earth contracting as one plate went under another plate. So several hundred miles of plate shifted 6 feet in the Earth, and that increased the rotational speed because the Earth contracted slightly.
All right, so what does it mean for us? I mean, are we going to sort of be walking around tilted to the left now, or what?
No, it's a very tiny effect, and however, GPS systems could eventually be affected. It's a cumulative effect. The Earth is permanently slightly off axis now.
Really? And what about the shortening of time? How does it shorten the day by a couple of seconds?
Well, instead of going 24 plus or minus hours in a day, it's off by 1.26 microseconds. It's a very tiny effect, but it builds up over time. So like the GPS system, telecommunications, or space satellites will eventually have to take this into consideration. But for you and me, it's not going to affect our daily life.
It's so incredible, though, to think. I mean, if you want to respect Mother Nature, you look at something like this and you really do. Michio Kaku, it's a pleasure having you.
Right.
How about that? So if you had a bad day last week, you got a little shorter. Is today a little shorter too, or was it just that one day?
Oh no, forever.
Forevermore.
Right.
Well, there you have it. Michio Kaku.
Virtually everyone will agree that 2012 is the next year of solar climax.
The coming solar maximum in 2012 is not the only cause for concern. Scientists have noticed a weakening of the Earth's magnetic field and a shifting of the poles, some even suggesting that the North and South poles could literally reverse places with each other.
I think viewers have probably read about the changing in the magnetic poles of the Earth, the magnetic reversal. It overturns very slowly. May take a few hundreds of years to make a complete overturn. And it's probably the case that we're in an overturn now, a beginning of an overturn, because the position of the magnetic pole has migrated some few hundred miles in the last few decades. So it is beginning to overturn. Now the real question is, what is the effect of the overturn of the magnetic field on Earth phenomena? There could be a reduction in the shielding effect. This could have some consequence. I don't think it's known whether the consequence will be calamitous, disastrous. It certainly won't be sudden, but probably some meteorological change will take place.
This planet has at its heart a ball of molten iron with enormous mass and weight, which is also spinning inside the Earth itself. Is it possible that there's some interruption in this spin, perhaps to do with magnetism, perhaps to do with solar magnetism, which literally capsizes the Earth? I wouldn't rule it out entirely, and there's much that's come down to us from the past that suggests that.
Lots has been said about a potential pole shift. It seems clear that the poles are beginning to move at rates that have not ever been measured before. Whether or not this is the beginning of an actual pole shift or more, how long this all will take, I don't think anybody can say. But of more immediate concern is 2012, 5 years from now. The consequences for us here are going to be greater. For the satellite system, for our health in terms of skin cancers and cataracts in the eyes and a host of health-related issues, and perhaps, again, as I mentioned, there's a growing body of evidence that earthquakes and volcanoes and, of course, hurricanes are related to solar input. We have to learn it fast. At least we have to get a sense of the magnitude of this connection and what we might be able to do to minimize these effects.
I think the thing that fascinates me most about 2012 is just the totality of the information. I mean, not only do we have ancient prophecies and, of course, the Mayan calendar, and it all seems to culminate in 2012. We all know, of course, that there's earth changes taking place, polar caps melting and global warming all over the place. What most people don't realize is this is a solar system-wide phenomenon. The polar caps on Mars are melting. The outer planets are more luminescent, meaning they're heating up. So something is definitely happening.
If a pole shift occurred within the next few years, it would disrupt civilization as we know it.
You know, we could have a total polar shift, yet science doesn't even talk to us about this. And it's a very real possibility.
Of course it is. We have taken geological samples up near the Arctic Circle that show a very broad range of alignments of the poles of the Earth. Now, these alignments occur when lava comes up through the crust and then it freezes. It assumes the magnetic alignment of the Earth at that time. Well, when we go up near the Arctic Circle, we see these tectonic spectrums of north and south pole alignments in mountains and in rock that hasn't moved for hundreds of thousands of years. And guess what? Sometimes it shows the north as south and the south as north. And this is, according to the Coriolis effect, something that could occur rather quickly, like in a matter of days. The north and south poles could switch. Now, we could talk a little bit about what the effects would be on the surface of the planet if that should happen.
Yeah, I'd love to know, because there's some people, and I've asked this question, Brooks, many times. Some people believe that we could go instantly. Other people think it's gradually, and some people think nothing will happen at all, which I don't believe. I think it'll be pretty drastic.
There's too much evidence that the poles do shift. North and south poles do shift. And if the core is detached from the crust, as we believe, and the core is thus counter-rotating against the crust, creating our powerful magnetic field, which we call a magnetosphere, if all those things are true and line up, then we are setting ourselves up, or the planet is set up to do a Coriolis flip, that the north and south poles could flip. And I mean in somewhere between 72 hours and 5 days, this flip could be complete. Now, it doesn't take an atmosphere.